Hey everybody, this is Fritz. I'm gonna talk you through my video of building a window frame and which is going to hold a stained glass, and it's going to go into a transom window. This is episode number 1. Uh, I've got everything all sped up because I'm still learning how to edit, and I don't know how long. I could probably cut the video down quite a bit to knock the steps out, but you'll kind of have to bear with me here. First, you can see I got a nice piece of cedar, and I have to break it down to create a frame. Now, on the table there with a big grinder, I had made a test frame to kind of like teach myself what to do. So I have the approximate sizes of the short sides of the window. It's a big rectangle, and the long sides. And this is going to be holding the stained glass. So I got a piece of cedar because it was nice wood, but I found out as time went on that the wood was bowed, a little bit warped. You can even see it right there in the picture that it's warped, and I have to kind of contend with that to make the pieces square. Anyway, first things first was to get the pieces out. Now this, because I got 2x6s, the wood is it'll give me enough to make 2 frames. So if I messed up the first time, I would have plenty of extra to create another frame. So here's the old handy dandy Craftsman mobile work table, which I've come to love greatly. And so now it's all about squaring the wood, which, like I said, because the wood is cupped, it has a curve to it. It's not very helpful to anybody for making something frame-wise. I'm using a little gauge here to make sure my fence is straight. For whatever reason, nothing's ever straight, so it's always redo, repair, and correct. So I'm knocking. First, what I do is I take off the bull nose on the the major piece of wood. So it's a 2x6. It's not really 2x6. It's not dimensional, but it comes with these curved edges, and that makes it a little bit difficult to square away. So I just run it through the very bare minimum just to knock off that curved edge, which I believe is called a bull nose. I don't quite know if that's accurate. And I have to do it with cup down on either side and make sure that everything is uniform as possible. But I finish up with, because it's less than stellar, I'm kind of stuck in a pickle about trying to make things even. I had to stop there and take my jacket off. It was getting a bit warm outside. We're here in Portland. We're having some inclement weather. For you safety-conscious people, I try not to take any chances around the blade because it terrifies me, and I have some pushing sticks here that I try to use as much as possible. You'll see me occasionally look like I'm going to cut my hand, but I think it's just the angle of the camera. So now I've got a I think it's 1 6/8 frame. That's what the size comes down to. I would like to have 2 inches, but like a real piece of wood is not like 1.5. I mean, it's not 2 inches, dimensionally set. So I got to try to make it square. So this is the endless running things through, just taking nibbles off, trying to get a straight side to make everything look okay. Very frustrating, to be sure, because it was over and over and over again. And so I'd think I'd have something straight, and then I'd do it over again and do it over again, and it took some time. And unfortunately, this is a bit of a long section as I go over each piece, kind of, anally retentively, just to try to get straight pieces. But it's all in the end. It's an idea to make sure I have everything neat and even, because later on when I have to nibble out a section to hold the stained glass, I want everything to be just right. So there I am taking the gauge and kind of checking and everything to make sure everything's square, and just struggling. But end up on that one piece I couldn't decide, and I finally just go, all right, I'll give it one more run just in case. While we're doing that, I'll just let you know, because Portland is a good place for growing things. The purple stuff hanging by me is wisteria with a W, and it's very fragrant. And this time of year, it kind of hangs for like a couple weeks, and it's just lovely to be around. Here I stupidly thought I was done with the tool. Now I'm setting up for mitering. Now I was informed after I did this I should have done the 45-degree cuts in my radial arm saw, and I was like, why? And he goes, because there's less movement, there's less stuff, and you'll get like a decent cut over and over again. I don't know about that, but I've never been able to get good 45-degree cuts on anything, and using this miter has been the best I've been able to have so far. I really, really love this thing, and I thought it gave me good cuts. Now, I don't have a close-up of what things look like this early in the video, and then in the next video I do, I'll try to square it away and to show everybody how nicely things I thought came out, but you can still see gapping, and when we glued this all up, it was still a lot of space, which is not comfortable because the glue I have doesn't compensate for that space. I later found out I should have been using something like Gorilla Glue that foams up. So there we go. There's a quick look at things, and what I'm trying to do now is before I lay the glass on it to do an outline, I'm trying to find blocks that are square, and I'm going to screw those into the frame to hold it into place, and then I can set the glass on it. See, the problem is that the stained glass is not the same ratio as the frame size. So I'm sure some clever math person might be able to figure that out, but I was not. So what I do is make the frame, screw it all into place, and then set the glass on it, and then draw an outline on the frame, and then I know where to cut everything away. Then I take the frame apart and cut out the pieces on the circular saw. I do have a router, but I don't think that's the right place for it, and I think the setup for me to ride along would have taken way longer, and then just taking the pieces out and using a table saw to cut the pieces out. I have a sneaking suspicion someone probably would be able to do this better and faster with the proper tools, but I didn't feel bad with what I came out with. It's very snazzy, I think. I was very pleased with the fit. All right, so what I'm doing here is having a bit of a wrestling match. So I have 4 perfectly square blocks. However, I don't know how to fix the blocks to get the frame squared away, and I wrestle a little bit with it. Right, so right now I'm going back to the house to go get the frame, and I forgot all about the camera. That's why everything's on 4x speed, just to kind of cut through things here. And that's the temporary frame I made for it. That was attempt number 1. I did a cross lapping to hold the frame, and there I'm trying to explain something, God knows what it was. So I set the stained glass on the frame. It's not really warped, that's just an artifact of the wide lens. So I start thinking about how to do things, and trying to sort things out, and I'm trying to find the right size from the sides. Like how far do I need to go in, and maybe I could just draw lines. But you know, as we go through the video, we'll see that uh, I struggle with it no matter what I'm doing. So now this has been a bit of time that jumped past. I had split the blocks in half, and now what I'm doing is screwing in temporary hold'ems, you know, so everything is going to be nice and square and in perfect position. Will that really be true? That's only time will tell. But I thought I was very clever. You know, I drilled holes and I made everything very cool, and uh, uh, you know, I think it's going to look nice. But that's what I'm doing right there. Okay, so you know, I'm still drilling those things in. It took me a bit to. I wanted to do it right so the wood wouldn't split. It's just light pine, so I drilled holes first, and then I you know, screwed it in just with a bare tip of some drywall screws just to kind of hold it in place. But I was trying to be super dedicated to make sure that everything was nice and snug, but not overly snug to split the wood, and make sure that the mitered ends were touching, you know, as snugly as possible. So there I am switching. I had to re-drill a couple things, and it didn't work out so good. And my cool screw starter, you couldn't find that. I mean, it's a drill bit with a chamfer on top. Is that the right word? Shoulder. And I wanted to use that instead because it's great. Okay, so here we go. Got it all tight, all squared away, and I'm checking squareness there. You can see me scratch my head. I just realized the table's not square. So I go around and I'm like, what? And I check everything and everything's fine. So now I'm just confused. You can't trust anything. And now I recheck all my marks, and that's happy, okay. And then back for the other side. And you know the old dilemma, measure twice and cut once. Well, for everything for me is like measure 47 times and then still mess up everything. So I'd really rather not do that, and then, you know, I'd rather do it right the first time. Well, you can see me scratching my head over and over again because I don't know what the heck I'm doing with this one, but at least I get that knocked out, I think, in again, for me, a clever fashion. But so what I start doing is I take my marking knife and I'm making lines with that, and then I'm trying to set it up as if the frame, the stained glass was good. One of the problems is that the stained glass is not even, you know, or square. So I'm attempting to get ahead of things by, uh, you know, drawing with enough space that it'll have space to set in, but snug enough that it'll be tight. We're not using like any caulk or anything to hold us in. Hopefully we'll just use little pieces of wood strip on the sides, and I'll tack that in to hold everything in place. But again, I'm trying to be conscientious here, so it's all lines and everything's going to be all pretty. And then, so after even doing all this, just being super conscientious and using my marking knife and got a razor sharp pencil, I think I'm so cool here. You'll see me get frustrated here in 2 seconds when I set the glass back on it, because guess what? After all that work, guess what doesn't fit? So yeah, it's not that it doesn't fit. It's just my lines don't necessarily mark up right. So here we go again, and I mark my lines out for a uneven piece of glass, and now I got to take the big bite, which makes me nervous because I don't want to cut and have to rebuild the frame because this took me a very long time. So Okay, this is post the cutting. Okay, sorry, I cut that part out. So you can see it now fits down into the frame. I'm kind of scratching my head thinking I'm a pretty cool dude here because things kind of sort of fit. And that means I have to figure out how to get it to fit correctly. And I'll just stop there. Thank you. Until next time.